Hello. What's happening? So, I'm gonna have to leave a little bit early today. Usually we do 3 hours, but today I have to take off. I'm leaving town, so I'm gonna have to take off a little bit early. So I'm gonna call it. What's up, Bardic Heart? How you doing? I'm gonna call it at 2 p.m. instead of 3. So yeah, that's where we left off. As you can see, it's like basically an environment blockout. It's all very, very rough still. It's just getting the right shapes in place. What's up, Kyle? The main thing I want to do today is start building out some of these other pieces. So like I've got the little side bumper there, and this is meant to be the scoreboard, but I got some work to do to get this a little bit farther along. I think I want this design to be a bit different. I think I want this to be sort of like this sort of octagon, extended octagon shape to be surrounded with a frame, and then that frame will be sort of propped up by like some kind of like scaffolding of some kind. So I'm gonna work on that a little bit. I want to, this is just very, very rough blockouts. I want to get this design a little bit farther along. Probably move the rotating part of this behind it, so that like these are meant to be like kind of like just little rotating. What's the word? Rotating like marketing and branding. So like they're like big rotating marquees with like branding stuff like that. So I want to mess with this a little bit. See if I can't get this a little bit closer to what I want. And then, yeah, we'll start just dropping them into the world here and continue to flesh stuff out. Yeah. I know that I want to put some tables and fencing and start working on like props that I'm going to need for the building as well. So that's what we'll be working on today. Pull up this thing I had a sketch from yesterday. Take a look at too. So that's the basic rough of how I kind of see things. Some kind of triangular marquees back here on the side that are kind of stationary. Then I have like a rotating one that's attached to the scoreboard there. And then just some like beach, random scattered beach stuff. And then there's like the rock jetty to the right. And then like massive hills, and I think I actually have the hill as part of this scene somewhere. Looks like I do not. Yeah, I thought I did. Yeah, so there's like the full scene, the landscape and stuff like that, but it's obviously a little bit tricky to work with that. That's just a really like I just blocked that in so that I could see kind of how and where everything was gonna kind of meet up. The island will likely like bend back around because there's no reason to kind of dedicate, since it's a video game, geo. Like you don't want to be wasting foliage and stuff. I think it's not really gonna be. Hey, what's going on, Pro 4210? What's up, Blands? What's your question? Yeah, so like it'll probably like wrap around and then it'll jet back out in the distance, so it has like a nice little sort of parallax and distance feeling to the horizon. Turn those back off though, because they make it really difficult to work. What's your polycount budget for the game characters? Yeah, so that depends. I mean, since there's only ever 4 characters on screen, we could get away with a lot more. You know, consoles, since we are a console title, you know, we could get away with something closer to even like over 100,000 per character. But because our cameras are so far away from the characters, everywhere except for in the front end, our guys tend to be closer to like the 50-60 range. Let's see if I can open one up here. Just to clarify characters. Let's see our new guy. We just launched this guy. So this guy's definitely on the simpler side. This is all of his low-res geo, but there's not a ton there. This is one of our simpler characters out of all of them, and that's 35,000 tries. We could definitely get away with about double that, and maybe we will. I feel like I'm going to end up coming back to this guy and punching him up. I think he needs a lot of work, so I'll probably end up getting back to him and adding more to him. This is one of our earliest characters. The other characters in there just for a height reference. Yeah, so she's up to 81,000, and a lot of that's going to be the hair. It's these little prop pieces, and to be honest, these prop pieces could probably, oh no, 81,000 is the whole thing. She's only 63,000. That sounds more reasonable. But yeah, you see like the eyebrows. She has real hair on the eyebrows. These are like real polygon hair cards. So the hair, I think, is actually a couple thousand. The shoes obviously have a little bit more detail than the other characters. Just got bare feet. And her belt could probably come down, and the belt's probably a little bit higher in geo than is really needed. But that's about 60,000, and that's 60,000 knowing full well that we have a lot of places we could optimize her. Her topology is nice and even though, and we haven't run into any issues with her, so just left it as it is. But yeah, I mean, like she was one of the characters where we kind of just like, we knew we had plenty of room. Like even the eyelashes, 4,000 tries on one lash, 6,600 total. So you know, and those are the things that I think all the characters mostly will have. You know, we just kind of add details, time allows. I actually want to come back and revisit her actually and do a little bit more to her as well. Yeah, retopo definitely gets those numbers, and like I said in previous streams, I like to in ZBrush I like to do ZRemesher to get us there quicker. So if I have a character, I'll grab the ZRemesh guides, you know, and I'll draw some remesh guides along, and I'll start my topology in ZBrush. And then, you know, depending, I'll either finish it in ZBrush or I'll take it out and do it someplace else. It just kind of all depends. As the problems are kind of present themselves, it'll depend on how I address them. Okay, so let me bring up that sketch again. There's got two things. Let me get. Yeah, this is kind of what it looks like with hair. Her hair actually needs a lot of work. I mean to get back in there. It's a little bit too uniform. Get out of here. sketch here, so we're gonna take a look at that off to the side. Too many monitors. Too much going on, too many screens. Now my phone included. Because there's so many tries here, I don't know what a key. I think an extrude might actually have issues with the vertex normals, but let's give it a shot. Oh, it worked great. Nice. I don't want this to be thick, so actually I'll duplicate it off. Scoreboard frame. And the only reason I want to give this a little bit of geometry is because I want to pop this part out. Probably the pins right there though. We didn't weld those. Welded as is. Oh yeah, they can't be welded. They're all separate geo. Guess I could eyeball it, but I'm almost certain there's a way to kind of get this where I want it. blockout. This is a great new feature. You can now move the subtools, transpose all visible, which is such a nice feature. So I'm going to give it a little bit more real estate there. That's kind of cool. You can mask, like I can visualize it. Hadn't really done that before, but what I did there was I masked the thing that I want to be a reference, which is this scoreboard in the middle, and then still using transpose all subtools, I can move the other ones. Since this is a mask, it won't affect this one. That's kind of, haven't really done it before, but it's actually kind of useful. All right. myself a little frame here. It's nothing much, but I just want it to be present so that it'll catch light and just show that there's something other than a floating thin plane. Trying to get my model's low poly version stay around 10,000. Since I got to talk to a few game developers on Twitch, I kind of realized that's way lower than actually needed. Yeah, it depends on your system. I mean, like if you're going mobile or low-end PC, then yeah, you know, you might. I mean, like if some of these laptops out there don't have dedicated GPUs, so it really depends on your spec. But yeah, getting detailed under 10,000 is a challenge. You know, you could. One thing I like to do is, for reference, I like to go to like Pinterest, for example, and just search like low-res topology, or search like low-resolution character geo, search stuff like that, like game resolution character. Search like those terms, and you'll see a lot of artists out there who like show tricks for like, oh, like they'll combine 2 fingers on each hand, but they still look like 4 fingers, but they're combined, and then they animate together. The main thing that you want to remember is, you know, I'll just show you because it would be better than explaining it. Is when you're doing elbows, right? You know, you have like even topology, right? And then what happens is that kind of topology will collapse weirdly in this area. So the thing you want to do is, when you have an elbow, see if I can do this in 3D. So the thing to do here with the topology is to give yourself a little triangle there, like split it off that way. And then what that makes, oh sorry, no, it's over here. Or is it in the back? Pretty sure. Good right now. These are things that like unless I'm like in the middle of retopologizing a character, I always forget them. Elbow topology game character. Let's see what that comes up with. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. Like you want to do this. You meet the point right there, and that extra edge loop will collapse it nicer. But you find stuff like this, and if you want to get down to like 10,000, it's definitely retainable. I mean, yeah, like I said, if you're working on like a console game, if you're working on like a current generation console that is PS4, Xbox One, and like, you know, most modern GPUs on PC, you know, yeah, you're probably good to stay in like the 100,000 range, especially if you only have like 1 to 5 characters on screen. Here's the exact example I'm talking about. Like that, you do the joint with that little extra, like you split out those triangles and do the joint that way, and it collapses really nice. There's not as much, like, you know, the underside geo is not as much. So let me see this actually. Yeah, let me see it in 3D topo. I have a Pinterest board called 3D Topology. But yeah, to get down to 10, you could do stuff like this guy's doing. I wish I could bring up the actual image, but So it's tricky. I think this is really, I mean, this guy's probably closer to 30. His face is pretty detailed. I'm trying to find guys closer to 10. That's probably closer to 10 right there, to be honest. Really, I mean, when you're down to 10, you're really talking like sacrifices. Like, what are you sacrificing to get to the point where, yeah, this is probably a couple hundred. Yeah. This right here is probably close. Like, it's probably around 10,000 try character. But yeah, I mean, like, search around. And you'll find that, like, this one's actually pretty solid. This guy's, given his teeth, I'm not sure, but like, I bet you this guy's probably close to 10. Yeah, like, the main thing, like, you want to do is like, when you find some examples of character artists that have like working super low resolution characters, just save it off, because you'll be able to kind of, you know, that geo will make it easy. Like, if you see good edge loops and good elbows and like good humanoid topology that deforms well, that's gonna deform well on any character, really. I mean, unless you have like some crazy skeletal sculpture, but if you have a humanoid, like, you know, the edge loops that matter in the definition. You know, the armpit area is really tough, because getting those faces to deform properly, you gotta be really careful. Like joint placement, and you might have perfect topology, but then your joints could be a little bit off, and that's really all it takes. And all of a sudden, your deformations are all out of whack. But yeah, there's the elbow pivot thing I was talking about. You want to just like split it there, and then it'll collapse really nicely. And then yeah, like just things like this. Like this character is probably close to like a couple thousand, like 2,000 to 5,000, I'm guessing, based on this character, just based on the topology I'm seeing here. So you can definitely do it, but that's when you're going to be doing things like, you're going to be spending more time doing texturing, because you're going to want detail in there somewhere, right? And so like texturing is going to be the place to get it. Yeah, this is a pretty low poly. On a tangent here, but I'm curious about this. Polycount. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, it is really tough. The lower your poly, I mean, like, then it's like you add too many poly. A lot of people's, you know, response to that is to throw more edge loops at problem areas and deform with just more faces. But the problem with that is then just painting skin weights becomes a task, because you start borrowing too many influences, and then certain poses start being a little odd, and yeah, then you're getting the skinning down. I mean, animation is it's the trick, right? Getting low detailed characters, like that, honing, like sharpening that blade is really tough. Nice bevel on there, so it casts a little bit of shadow, catches a little bit of light. This is like this super lightweight frame. I want to sort of feel really, really thin. Close this back half because I don't think I want to peek it through. So bevel on the front. I'll do a hard edge on the back because then I can I'll split my UVs right there. When you have a hard 90-degree angle, for one, it doesn't, you know, on a flat look, on an orthographic approach, it doesn't look very good. It also doesn't catch light great. But when you have a 90-degree angle there, that's when you want to do a UV split anyway, because when you're projecting your high resolution detail, you know, when you have bevels, doing baking, like baking high resolution detail down, when you have 45 degrees or less of an angle there, you will have enough surface normals, or vertex normals rather, to kind of capture all the detail you need. With a 90-degree edge, the vertex normals are perpendicular in each axis. So when the baker is trying to find the high resolution detail, it kind of, that's when you get those like choppy stepping. So you want to put hard edges there on 90-degree angles, and then they'll come right in and get exactly like a parallel to your vertex, or surface rather, perpendicular to your surface. Is how those rays will cast. So I got that little frame there. Now what I want to do is I want to build like a support structure for this frame. So this will be the thing that kind of like props it up, digs into the turf, is sitting in the sand. That'll be the thing that kind of holds it up, as well as holds up the other marquees. Yeah, exactly. When you're preparing character for animation, you know, approaching the entire thing, approaching it holistically, so that like, every step of the way you're thinking about, okay, how is this going to deform? How is this going to deform? How is this going to deform? I've seen character artists where they actually rip out like no UVs. They just rip out a really during their like retopology, they'll, you know, put their key edge loops in, and then they'll build a quick skeleton, drop a quick skin on it, and like do a quick skin test, like just for like the extremes, like put every like joint into its like most extreme pose, and they'll like try to fail fast. Like they'll try to find any type of like, oh, this is a geometry error, this is a joint placement error. Like they try to, like, before they're working on their final model that's already been UV'd, already been textured and baked, and already got everything sort of like down the pipeline so far, then you find out like, oh, you know, turns out like these joints aren't going to work. No matter where I place the joints, they're not going to work because of the way I did that low resolution topology here, blah 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 blah. So anyway, like I've seen guys, and this is like less of an issue. This is more of an issue when guys were trying to stick to 10,000 or below. Like when you're trying to stick to a few thousand polys, this is more of an issue. So it's less of an issue now, but it is something that I always noticed and thought was kind of clever. Is like they just getting a baseline, like they basically doing like a low resolution skeleton while you're doing your retopology. I always thought that was an interesting method. It seemed like a wasted work at the time, and then I started making characters and I realized that's not really wasted work. It's actually quite clever to get that stuff out of the way. All right, so let's duplicate this. I think I'm gonna do. Let's make this cylindrical. We only need 8. There's definitely more sophisticated ways to do this next little bit I'm about to do here, but I find this just kind of, actually, let me bring this a little bit to the exact.
Change all the harm we've done to ourselves, to the earth, to the voice.
I'm going to group by normals at like 60. That'll give me polygroups on these caps. Let's get rid of the caps. Group by normals. 60. And just do a quick close hole by edge. Usually circle's a good one for doing 90 degrees. Oops. Bridge, actually doesn't want bridge 2 holes, circle. And it lets you really kind of dig into how you want that to look. Like I said, there's more sophisticated ways to do that, but I find that works great. Give it a little tappy tap, it'll maintain. So yeah, that's like the kind of suspended imagine kind of like a PVC pipe almost. I think what I'll do is I'll build kind of little joints for the PVC. It's like a PVC pipe basically. It's meant to be on the beach, so it should be kind of like it's electronic, yet it's like out there in the element. So like it should feel kind of lightweight. It should feel kind of like PVC pipe and like rubber tubing and stuff. Kind of like you can kind of picture 2 people could pick it up and walk off with it. That's kind of the sort of dainty feel I'd like it to have. I'm gonna probably extrude some sockets and joints and stuff, but I think I'm probably gonna keep this as it is because it's someone's at the door. 1 second, guys. Let me get delivery here. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that, we're back. Going on a trip tomorrow, so I had to Amazon Prime Now a little carrying case for my Nintendo Switch. I went on a trip recently, and I was like, I'm not going to be gone that long, I'll leave the Switch at home. And then immediately regretted not having access to Zelda on the plane, so portable gaming is now a real thing for me for the first time in my life. No matter how much I tried to force it with the other consoles. Other portables, that is. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this off because I like having that base frame. Give me that edge. Just adding some support geo here.
You watch me smile and dance like a fool. But I don't care, 'cause you do like me. Do like me. We lose it all and we'll be free. We lose it all. 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 We lose it all.
I think I'm probably going to put another big sort of middle section there. Let's do two more joints right here. Kind of just split that up actually. So multiple edge loops. Multiple edge loops with one loop is a good way just to split something in half. I'd like this one to not exist, and then we'll do 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There we go.
And I don't care.
Another thing I like to do is when I have one, when I want to like, it's basically in Maya it's called offset edge. It's basically like adding edge loops equidistant from an existing edge loop. Just bevel is a nice way to just do that. If you give yourself a nice bevel, then that works well. Okay, so that's split up into evenly into 4s.
I don't care who sees. My time is now, so I'll be free. So I carry on, I carry
The more I think about it, the more I want to keep it really low. I keep it low res. I always get caught in this place where it's like, oh, I'm gonna make it a little bit more high res. I'm really gonna add some extra geo, pull this stuff out. But the more I like, you know, the more I look at it, the more I kind of want to just keep it all low resolution, stitch it all together, do all the UVs together, split on the hard edges, and make it all just one big mesh. So we'll see where I end up. I'm gonna tinker with this for a little bit and then see where I land on it. sure why it's not doing the other pink ones. They're clearly the same poly group, but. I think sharing UV space is like the main thing I usually. The important thing is just to be cognizant of, you know, what problems you're trying to solve when it comes to making game resolution geometry. I think right now I'm really just working on visualization, previs, so I don't need to worry too much about what's going to happen with the geo. That's a problem for future me. And it's good to sometimes just to like improvise and start working with shapes and start trying to find stuff you like. Right now I'm doing more of a 3D sketch than anything. Not too much geo here either, considering it's all cylindrical, which is usually unnecessarily use too many polygons when you're going round. You can probably fake the roundness, especially with a prop that's far away. I can usually fake that roundness with some bevels, but you know, 1,700 total points is not that much. And when I subdivide this up and get some. Yeah, like, you know, projecting that bake right there is gonna look kind of nice. I'll probably throw some bevels. Let's do crease tolerance of like 80. That do it? Yeah. Instead of doing the group by normals thing too, you can always just do set your crease tolerance. You know, that's the how many degrees where you want to crease. Similar functions in Maya and Max. Then just I can preview my subdivision just like that. Looks pretty good. Also gonna see if I can do anything with the Q grid here. Now with some smaller bevels like that too, I can pull out. Those will UV nicely. I can just stack those UVs, and I won't need to split that face up. I can just have that whole thing just kind of wrap around, and it'll be just a nice string. I'm trying to basically what I'm trying to do is be mindful of where I want to put all these props on a texture atlas, so that I can share UVs, one texture, when I'm doing my draw calls, I can do my texture read, and have all these meshes fed off of the same texture and same you know, material with you know, parameters for changing color and stuff. But so I'm always kind of trying to just be mindful of you know, repeating parts and things that you know, the fact that these are split 4 times means I can maybe even combine those since I know that they're all the same size. You know, things like that. two-sided. Well, textures, it all is going to depend on your hardware. DiscJam, the game we're working on is it's PC, high-end PC. We have a low-end renderer that has a different render path for low-end PCs with integrated GPUs, and then we have obviously the consoles are our primary SKU, PS4, and so on. But it's going to depend on your hardware, of course. But I mean, for the most part, textures are it depends on your materials. If you have your textures organized such that your materials are if you're all loaded, if all your textures are loaded into VRAM, then like you're all set. It's like you only hit the texture reads so many times per mesh. But you see things where meshes get like there's 20 material slots, and each material slot is reading from a few textures. And sometimes people will max out, oh, I'm using 4 textures, each channel of each texture, and masking everything out of that. Those are kind of the things where you start that starts turning up in your profile, and your profile starts showing some big hits there. But yeah, for the most part, like if you got like a standalone asset, like a character, maybe you got 2 material. Like, we typically do like 1 for gear and 1 for like the skin and body and stuff like that, and like 1 for like the hair and 1 for the eyes. So like those are like the main material slots for skeletal mesh for our characters. And we have basically just like normal, a packed roughness and PBR, 4-channel map, and then albedo, and that's really all we need. And those get loaded into VRAM. They get hit once, and then it's super cheap. So that's not really an issue there. But yeah, it really again, like I said, with most things, it's just really going to depend. It's all about how you architect it. Basically did that just so that I can take these little cylindrical shapes, pop them out. I'm gonna leave it for now, just in case I want to come back to this geo. I like it how it is. Just trying to think of the best way to break this thing up. I think what I'm probably gonna do. It should probably be the same size as well as maintain the same. Like I should have the same curves on it. I think what I'm gonna do is take this one, duplicate it. This will become my new side piece. There's a line. This is so you can just eyeball this. That's super critical. That's all I want to do. I want them to kind of like slide animate, so it's like boom. Then like someone's branding is on there, and it's like Eat at Joe's, and it's like and then it like switches to that. It'd be cooler if it like rotate it up. Yeah, just like a three-sided marquee. Basically. Curious if that actually did what I wanted to do. Or if it created some bad faces inside of it. Let's find out. See what that looks like in Maya. Just inspect with that G. I did a Q mesh on that triangle. Not exactly sure how that kind of thing behaves, Q meshing the inside of a triangle like that. So I want to just take it over to Maya, introspect a little bit here, get into the guts of it. Yeah, it looks like I totally did the right thing. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It really did exactly what I wanted it to do there. Stop. There we go. You harden these edges to get a better look at it. Yeah, it didn't create any like bad geo in there. It's nice. Quick merge these verts to center. So it's a little bit. To be honest, I don't think I need any of these. Yeah, don't need any. Alright, send that right on back. Mirror, mirror and weld. Oops. Turn off local symmetry. Yeah, ZModeler can be tricky, that's for sure. Yeah, they just rotate like this. Make sure it's not going to clip any of the geo. Yeah, that works good. Oh, it looks like I lost something here. seem to be aligned. I'm just want to make sure I didn't edit these faces and then make them not equidistant anymore. No, they seem the same. Good time to save. Yeah, it'd be really easy to like stretch that out, like scale it up, and all of a sudden I don't have good geo there anymore. I want to split this face, but only because that's the one. Even though I don't need those points, as I just talked about, that's why I removed them. I'm gonna put it there so that I can extract some stuff from it. Hold control, you can pull it off. That's gonna be better off doing. Just gonna insert square. Split on mass points, get this little bracket its own. Jeez, getting a lot of artifacts here. Turn off symmetry, grab that one alone. Geo is acting bananas. There we go. I don't know. 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 the curves at the bottom. And on the marquee. Save it first. Let's do a bridge. Straight lines. Oops. Might be the kind of thing I might want to do by hand. Just want to experiment with these. I haven't actually used all of these. I'm curious about them. scratch to get some fresh geo in here. It's probably the best thing to do. I'm trying to think like doing a hard 90 with a cylinder. Should work just fine. Cop out, but see it, really? Did I not save that off? Merge this down. I put these in their own Boolean group. That's what little arrow is. And that's how like I keep just like extra pieces lying around. Do I have 2 of these? Yes, I do. Don't need that one. I want that one. Some pegs. All my garbage geo I just put down there. It's the original scoreboard. And I can just turn them all on and off as needed. As you can tell, this is all pretty blockout still, very low poly. But you know, it's got a pretty solid representation of what I was going for. And then I'll, obviously punch these up as I dig into them a little bit more. Now, save this project. Now the thing I think about when I'm doing a game resolution texture is that if I can do tileable roughness and build myself kind of a plastic material, then I can combine this UV with so like I can like bake down. I can basically use the same material for all these pipes and not have to get not to waste a ton of UV space, and they're all essentially the same shape. Like I can dedicate their UVs to the same space, and then with the trim sheet, I can have their individual normals baked for like the things like the curve and things like that. But then the roughness and like kind of tileable textures can all be applied on top. It's a real space and time saver when you're doing environment art for video games. So I'll probably have to build some, probably want to build some rotating mechanism there. Simple question. How do I rotate an object totally? I simply hate the tool and can't get my head aligned to the body. You know, so like, are you talking about rotating, you know, with this little fellow here, the gizmo? Are you talking about, you know, you can also rotate with, you know, just by, if you have some geo you specifically want, you know, you can snap to it. Usually it snaps to vertices, I'm not sure why it's not snapping right now. But if you want to rotate with the gizmo, there's a few options. I mean, like, one thing I like to do is, like, when you have, like, I know that these boxes there are centered, so I'll unmask, or I'll mask everything besides the box. I know that box is the rotation axis. That's like, it's kind of a placeholder there. So like I'll mask everything but it, then I'll click this little go to unmasked mesh center. That'll center the pivot on that box. And now I'll unmask and everything's gonna rotate as I expect it to. And everything's gonna, like, it's gonna rotate into that space as I wanted it to. So like it's a completely identical rotation, see. So like setting the pivot, like when you say totally, I'm not sure what you mean, but like setting the pivot is a big part of it, because it's obviously about where you're going to be doing all of your rotation. And then another thing to think about too is that if you have something in the world center, you can like move it to the world center by clicking that thing there. And this is also the world orientation. So if you do all that, it just like will rotate everything to the world space. So like for example, if I decide that this here part in the middle is what I want my center to be, I can go to unmatched mesh center, and that puts it right in the middle there, right? And then if I want to make that into the world center, I can just click the world thing, oops, unmask, and then that'll put that right at the world orientation, or the world center. And then I can even do world orientation. That'll like place it aligned with the world. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you. I mean, it takes some getting used to for sure. But one, you know, it becomes second nature after a while, and then it's just becomes pretty irreplaceable from a tool perspective. Definitely, I much prefer it to the previous. What do you call it there? Transpose line for rotation. Okay, so like I said, I got to end a little bit early today. Unfortunately, I got to end right at 2. So I am going to place this in the map. Maybe I'll do some quick coloring here. Yeah, who needs it? Let me do a merge visible. Save my project. Yeah, it won't hurt. Why can't I get rid of this freaking face? What's up, Nico? I'm just finishing up here. Let me see if I can find. It's a very rough blockout of this environment I'm working on. This is the scoreboard in the back of our end zone. So like, here's another piece of the environment there. So like, there's the environment blockout. I'm just kind of like putting rough shapes in. So like, you'll see like, it's just for like getting the environment sort of figured out while I'm kind of still designing it. So like, this is the scoreboard piece that goes in the back right there where that scoreboard is on our court. So just bit by bit building up the bits that this is the joint. Let's make these black. Let's make the pegs black. Let's make the metal in it. I'm just kind of messing around right now. I'm putting let's grab that color, fill object. Presumably there'd be some branding on here of some kind. I just threw a little color on there for visualization purposes. Let's merge visible. Go to my world. Let's append and merge bad boy. And this is all stuff that I've figured out that like in the game, this is where it goes. So I can come through now, delete, remove these since they're no longer needed. Now that I have that size how I want it, I can come back in and realize, okay, well, it's a little bit too wide. I can't see the full extent of the marquee. So there's some stuff I'm gonna want to adjust there. I'm not sure if I want to make it wider or make the marquee a little bit more narrow. Probably want to make the marquee a little bit more narrow. Find a good camera angle here. Uh-oh. Looks like we got a camera issue here. Well, I'm glad I saved. Show some perspective here.
Dark Star Music.
Do a quick render. Yeah, like I said before, I gotta catch a plane shortly here, so I'm gonna end an hour early, unfortunately, this week. But thanks for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you next week. Built a little scoreboard today, and it's still blockout, obviously, but I got an idea where I want the shapes to be. I got an idea of how the marquee is the triangular marquee is gonna rotate on the sides there, and you know, everything's fit to the size except for the marquees are a little bit wider than I want, so I'm gonna have to come back in and adjust those. But ultimately, you know, it's a good bit of blocking out, and that just means that when I start adding detail, it goes that much faster. So thanks a lot, guys. I will catch you next week. Thanks, Quay Day. Appreciate that, Katavi. See you guys.